Black People's Day of Action 2013. We're here at the Moonshot in Fordham Park, gathering for the march, the third year to commemorate the New Cross fire, and then moving on to 439 New Cross Road, to New Lewisham Police Station, and then to Forest Hill for the conference. So we're hoping for a good day, good turnout so far, and people will be joining us along the way, hopefully.
My teacher.
Hail yourselves, my brothers and sisters. Hail yourselves. Because it's down to the people,
That's right.
not necessarily the leadership. But the leadership also matters.
All right.
Today we are gathered. Other people will join us. By the end, this march will be big.
That's right.
We won't reach 25,000. 23,500. Yeah? So it's already been said that we organized in this building. A very different place in those days, but importantly, this is where we organized.
All right.
And people gathered. The event happened, was it the 18th of January in 1981?
That's correct.
And everybody knew that something momentous had happened. Everybody knew that. And by the end of the week, the pattern of the state and the racist state had already been set. We knew that the police were saying that this wasn't a racial attack, and we knew that the Queen and the authorities had said nothing in response, and the anger and grief were already palpable a week later. So when hundreds of people gathered in a big, what was a big hall in there in those days, I think it's been, the architecture has been touched. When we gathered, there was enough passion, enough willingness to organize. But let's be clear about something else. That wasn't the first race attack in this area.
Come on.
I know that some people don't believe it was a race attack at all. I know that some people don't believe it was a race attack at all. But that wasn't the first one in this area. There's a pattern of racial anti-African violence in this area that went back over decades. And importantly, at a place called Sunderland Road, where a party was taking place just like the one that was attacked on the 18th of January, and petrol bomb was put through the window. Nobody died, but a whole heap of Africans were maimed. There is a commemorative issue of one of our community papers, Black Voice. You can get hold of it, and the pictures of the people are in that. I used to have it, in fact, I still have it. It's somewhere in Jamaica. So this was an area where racist violence against Africans was common, and it sometimes previously took the form of petrol bombs into black people's places where we lived. And at that time, I'm coming to that. My brother is saying moonshot bombs as well. Good moonshot bombs as well. Almost all our bookshops and other community places, but especially the bookshops, one after another, got attacked with firebombs. So it wasn't new. Now, the people gathered. Sybil Phoenix, John LaRose, Darcus Howe, me, Brother Pepperkai, enough people. Sisters like Halim Thomas, sisters, a whole set of them from the they call themselves the Alliance, the Race Today Black Parents Group Alliance. They were in fact national. They had groups in Manchester, Bradford, and a whole network of organizations in London. And importantly, they controlled the proceedings by numbers and by tactics. And they outmaneuvered some of us who didn't always agree with what they were doing. So it wasn't necessarily ideologically unified, but everybody was clear that we had to respond coherently, that we had to respond in an organized way. And as we moved, the vibe went out around the community And I know, and other people who were there, Brother Pepperkai will remember, that African prisoners enslaved in a way in the people them jails in this country gathered money out of the little money they had in the prisons and sent it to the New Cross Massacre Action Committee. On the day, as I say, we gathered here, and we all know the number. It could have been more, you know. Who did make that estimate? It could have been more, but we gathered here. And the vibe going forward was amazing. Anybody who missed that, missed something. And those who were there need to remember it. There's of course a little booklet put out by that collective I was talking about, that alliance I was talking about, the New Cross Massacre Action Committee. It's if you have the first edition, it's a collector's item, but they recently, no notion of collector's item. If you have some old, don't dash it away, you know. Quite important. We have a habit of ordinary Africans of not keeping our records, our documents, and we dash for too much something. So if you have that, keep it. It's an important little document. Now, as I say, we gathered and we marched, and we saw children jumping over them school fence to join the march. People left their factories, their workplaces, their offices to join the march. Now, there was one major drama on the march. The police, we've spoken to them, you know, just as we did on this occasion. There's a whole set of excitement about the route. Public order from the Met were involved. They sent somebody called Commander Polkinghorne. I remember like it was yesterday. And Darker said, what a powerful and frightening figure this Polkinghorne was. Anyway, we negotiated with him and the route was agreed. So we set off. And at the south of Blackfriars Bridge, my brothers and sisters, come on. Despite the agreement, written agreement between us and them about the route, the Metropolitan Police threw a cordon across the route of the march and tried to stop it. Now it is very important that they did not manage to do so. We simply went through them. So we were not being lawless. We were insisting on our right in accordance with what had been agreed. And I'm just learning of a new dimension of this organizing around the New Cross Massacre. I'm talking to a brother who is a stalwart of the PACM at the moment, and he's bringing to my notice a whole other dimension about the security that our community had in security measures that our community had in place on that day. So more and more is to be understood and grasped about that event. The other thing for us to know is that even though the New Cross Massacre Day of Action was a triumph of our community organizing, that a month or two later, 1 month later in fact, in May, something else, even more spectacular to the state, happened. And the same people were involved. Brixton Uprising, right? Yes. And we need to be clear that it wasn't just Brixton, because a few months later in June, everywhere else went up as well, because of decades of oppression, of insult, of attempted disempowerment, and so on. So, while we praise ourselves for our organizing around the New Cross Massacre, let us remember that our people spontaneously organized to frighten the state, and a lot of what happened in the aftermath of 1981 didn't happen because we marched. It happened because we went out of the street in violent anger. So that's what those uprisings were. And we need to remember that. And let us put those uprisings, back on the agenda and let us understand that they have meaning. Let us remember that our young people, even though we don't see them in the way that we would like to see them, that they still have the capacity to resist. They still have the capacity to surprise the police. 2 years ago, and us. So 2 years ago, I had made a speech a week before in which I said that our young people had gone to sleep. Gone to sleep what? Right? And it's not just organizers and leadership of our community who thought so. The Metropolitan Police also thought so. You know, on that afternoon when Tottenham blew, they had thousands of policemen policing a football match just down the road. They sent them home at the end of the march, you know, because nothing wasn't going to happen in Tottenham. And if anything happened in Tottenham, they had enough policemen to defend the police station, which is all they thought. These crazy black people might attack the police station. They would put few men to guard the police station. The action was elsewhere, and they were not ready, and they were not ready for days. And we need to remember that. They were not ready for days. And if you step back to 1981, there is other stuff that we can remember. There was an uprising in St. Paul's, Bristol, in 1980. And you know what the Metropolitan Police didn't just think, they also said that that couldn't happen in London because Bristol and the Somerset and Avon force was a little rural hick force. They, the Met, had been preparing themselves, especially after 1976 and 1977 in Notting Hill. And they were ready. They were ready. But when our youths came at them, I personally saw them running around like headless chickens in Brixton when that uprising blew. And why did that uprising blow? Because of the disrespect, because of the oppression that is a part of the systematic process and program that gets put onto us by the white supremacists who run this place. So when we come out, my brothers and sisters, let us pull all of that experience together. Let us know that we have to organize at all levels. Let us know that we have to respect the spontaneous activity of our angry young people. Let us go forward. Let us build the African National People's Parliament. I don't put it in the right order, don't mind. That is not out of disrespect. I'm a vice president of it and proud, proud to be in support of our brother leader on this matter. So, that is what we're doing. The march is part of a broader process. And we got to remember to tell our people to come into this one. We have a whole heap of experiences of attempting to organize nationally and failing. And those attempts have usually failed because of idiotic egoism and sometimes equally idiotic ideological dispute. Make we put them behind us. It's not that the dispute between class and race don't matter, but my life, for one, has always proceeded on the basis that race, class, and gender have to be struggled together, have to be struggled around side by side. Race matters, class matters, the oppression of women must end, and that is the struggle. So let us move forward and organize today. Let us march peacefully. Let us have a wonderful rally convention, correctly it has been called following Marcus Messiah Garvey, and let us build the organization, the national organization, the nation. That is our task. Thank you.